Hi, friends, and welcome back. Happy Friday to you. It's so great to be back with you, Greg, for In the Loop. It's been a few, huh?
It has been a few. Yeah, it is good to be back. I think we've been off a couple of weeks, but you know what? We're right back here with everybody who's joining in, and it's good to see you. It's good to be here on a Friday.
It's amazing to be here with you. I know you got some fun stuff to share with us on the tech side, and I've got some stuff on the financial side. But most important, Greg, I feel like we got to bring it up. I mean, we love to be here with you, and I think Fridays are really fun, Greg. So those of you who are joining us on what I think we're on over a dozen different live streaming channels. Don't be shy. Jump in, say hello to Greg and I, and tell us how your week's been going. I mean,
Yeah,
how's
absolutely.
yours been going, Greg?
Pretty good. It's been pretty busy. So, a lot of good stuff going on. A lot happening, in tech. Well, some things we're kind of cherry picking a little bit here that we're going to talk about today. But yeah, otherwise it's been going really well. It's nice weather in Portland. You can't really beat that. So yeah, I gotta say it's pretty good.
We'll take it. We'll take the good for what we're. Well, let's do this, Greg. I'm just going to jump right in, talk about how the market's currently doing because the market's still open. Unfortunately, it is a triple down day today. The Dow's currently down 253 points. We don't like that. But here's the thing: the Nasdaq, tech heavy Nasdaq, biotech, a lot of sciences in the Nasdaq index down 124 points as well. Don't like that. And the S&P 500 is currently also down 27 points. So market hasn't closed yet. We still have a couple hours to go, but it doesn't look like we're in positive territory this week. But here's the thing. I wanted to share, of course, and kick it off with a little bit of good news on the financial side. And this is that mortgage rates, believe it or not, have been dipping. They've been dropping a bit. So if you've been in the market or you've been kind of like waiting to see if prices could get a little bit reasonable, maybe you might see some hope. I don't know, in the next 12 months or so, hoping. There was an article that came out just recently from CNBC from Diana Olick talking about just, where mortgage rates need to be. Interesting enough, potential home sellers as well as home buyers have said that they really want to see mortgage rates at the 30-year fix in particular at about 5.5% or lower, or they don't want to go in. They don't want to go in and buy a new home. I don't know how you feel about that, but this to me makes a lot of sense. We're currently hovering about 6.2 to 6.3. So not quite there yet. But for those of you who are watching and looking to purchase in their home, or maybe even, or your first home, a little bit more waiting to see, but the good news is it's been on the down roar. It's been going down for the last 5 weeks. So that's a little bit of good news. Now, let's segue though to another story. And this is from my good friend Jessica Dickler. And Greg, I want to really get your take on this because, there was a recent article that Jessica shared talking about the sort of the big money mistakes that advisors have made and what they have in common. And so I chimed in, of course, on this. Jessica reached out to me. And I want to say, probably my biggest financial mistake was when I first started in the financial industry. I was working at Smith Barney as a new financial advisor. And a lot of people gave me a lot of beef about my car. My car was getting old. And they're like, you need a new car. You deserve a new car and this and that. And they convinced me to lease a car. And I mean, it was fun, Greg. Like it was like a convertible and all that, but I feel like it was just a total money drain. What do you think, Greg, has been your biggest money mistake in life?
Oh man, biggest money mistake in life. Ooh, I got to think about that one for a second because I've been pretty good with the car thing. The car side of things, I've splurged a little bit, but not too crazy. Gosh,
Too much tech? Too much tech purchases, maybe?
well, definitely that. I've definitely gone down that route before, where I bought a television that I didn't really need, but I really wanted it, so I did it anyway. So that's definitely one of those things. Maybe going out a little bit too much or something like that.
I think a lot of people
when
can
it's
relate
not
to that.
necessary to eat out, but just instead of instead of doing it like many times maybe. So I think those are little things, but like the biggest one financial mistake, I'd really have to think about that,
Yeah.
about what it is.
Well,
I,
the article that a lot of people were saying, like some people were, the article covered a lot of things that obviously financial advisors felt. But I would say, like, as someone who has, experienced a lot of, answers from different people that I've met, most people feel like, I think, that they didn't start early enough. They didn't start saving early enough,
yeah,
and maybe they could have, like, started their 401k at their first job. Like, I think that's pretty typical.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Some credit card debt at certain points, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
yep. I've definitely had some of those. I
Yeah.
try to not be too crazy with it, but yeah, biggest financial man. I haven't. What was the car that you got? What was the car that you leased?
So I got a beautiful, like, it was one of those, like, again, one of those mistakes, early on. And I've always been super frugal, but like I walked into the dealership and literally it was on the showroom and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to hug this car. It's so, so cute. And honestly, it wasn't even on my radar before I walked into the dealership. And of course, it was a white Mercedes convertible. And literally it looked like a little floating cloud in the showroom. And I'm like, "You're so cute. I need to take you home." And of course, my business partner, he's amazing, by the way, but like I'm much better with making sure we don't overspend, right? He's like, "You deserve it. You should get it. Sit in it." And then of course my husband's like, "Yeah, you do deserve." My husband's a saint. "You do deserve it. You should get it too." So I'm like, so I had two of them like, "You should get it. You should get it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I should get it, right?" And then
Some bad
the
influences right there.
bad influence, 3 years of hefty payments, 3 years later. I mean, this is the thing, with, like, getting a car like this, right? Not only is it expensive, but you're paying this really hefty lease payment, so you don't even
Yeah,
own the car, and then, like, someone dings it, and you're like, "Oh my goodness." But, like, it was just, since then, I've never bought a brand new car for myself since then, and I've been perfectly happy with that. It's just, to me, it's just, some people are really car people. I don't
yeah,
think my thing is really car people, you know?
yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a utility kind of car person. Like I have a Jeep because, I like to go out into the wilderness, which is, that's kind of a little bit of a, maybe I don't need that, but I like it. And
Mhm.
I can go anywhere I want to go. But yeah,
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 I like an SUV. I have an SUV now,
yeah.
and it's more
It's not the best gas
practical.
mileage. I'll say that. It's maybe not
Oh,
the smartest move there, but,
okay.
it's
Well,
fun.
you'll have to think about that one day. I think it's going around the time. Mine's run off a battery, so it's not bad, and it's powered
Yeah,
by the solar panels on top of my house. So the cost to
that's
own me
pretty
is
good.
pretty great. Yeah. But yeah, lots of things to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about, Greg, with you is just this. I mean, like, I feel like we need to have a discussion on social media. Like, social media, is it the beginning of the end of social media as we knew it from the past? Like, I feel like not only has AI become this big thing, right? It's sort of that this is a real big rite of passage for technology as it relates to AI and the way we do things, the way we are able to improve our productivity and everything else. But let's talk about social media. I have two stories to share with you on this space. Of course, Facebook, as you know, the parent company Meta, there's a whole bunch of talk about them having this morale crisis because then this includes like Mark Zuckerberg, who works remotely. A lot of them work, like, I think Mark like has this gigantuous island in the Hawaii
Hmm.
Islands. They just laid off over 21,000 people, and they're talking about the year of efficiency. They have most of their senior staff. In fact, I'm hearing a lot of them are not even in the California headquarters. So even though, there's been some success in terms of the stock price itself, but we need to talk about, like, people just, they're not feeling very positive. People who are working at Meta or Facebook aren't feeling very positive. They've had a lot of layoffs in tech and the business groups. Um, yeah, and then I guess there's going to be more layoffs that are coming in late April and May. And there's no, like, return to office mandate, which, probably that's realistic. But that's one. Greg, I'd love to get your thoughts on
Hmm.
that before we go to Twitter. I mean, what do you think? Do you feel like this is sort of a transition?
Well, I mean, especially with Meta. just in general, that how much they invested into this whole concept of metaverse and virtual reality and, a mixed reality and all of that, but it hasn't really come to fruition. I don't even remember what the rates were of people who were actually on the quote unquote metaverse, but it was some kind of abysmal numbers. So it's like that clearly didn't work. So that's probably a huge issue for them if the entire company focus was going there. And now it's like, okay, that didn't happen. All these layoffs are happening, in addition to everything else going on. But yeah, it's like, what is Facebook? I mean, Instagram is still, I feel like, going to be just fine.
Around and kicking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Facebook, I don't know. I mean, I'm on Facebook because it's an easy way that I've already connected with a lot of friends, that just through the messenger side of things. That's just by default sometimes how some of us communicate. So, there's that aspect of it, but I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, I guess in relative terms, compared to some of the other social media networks, they're probably the most stable. They may not be the most exciting, but at least it's still there. It's still there in basic form. But yeah, compared to what else is going on, I don't know. It's going to be a real interesting to see where they head, and especially now. I know there's reports that they want to get into AI as well, just like everybody else.
They should. Instead of metaverse, they should have just focused on AI. That probably would have been the better mood, right?
I think they put billions of dollars into that metaverse, and maybe someday that they may be right about that. That could be somewhere down the line, but it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
I don't think people are ready to adapt to it yet, and the hardware is not out there yet. People just aren't even experiencing it, so they don't even know what it is.
Absolutely. Now, I do agree with you, Greg, on the Instagram front because I went with my son to his he's transitioning to high school next year, which is a crazy thought to me. But we're going through all the school itself has like over 100 clubs, and so they're networking, figuring out which clubs they want to join. But it's interesting because they'll say, "Hey, let's connect," and when they said "let's connect," you would think maybe they would like let me share my cell phone number with you or email. No, they're like, let's connect on Instagram. So I feel like sort of that Generation Z, which is even younger than millennials, at least in my experience, it seems like that's how they keep in connection. It's not Slack, it's not Discord, it's actually Instagram through Instagram messaging, which is super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Instagram's done a good job with that. So
yeah,
that section of the company is doing good.
That section, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this transitions. Now we got to talk about Twitter because this part, Twitter is now like there's a story about Twitter has partnered with a company called eToro, which is a social trading company. Okay, so the question is, I guess Twitter, Elon Musk is looking, obviously his background in PayPal, online banking. He's looking to incorporate financial services and things like that into Twitter. So he's going to be allowing users on Twitter to access stocks, cryptocurrencies, and other financial assets. So this is supposed to be, launching out, very, very soon. And this will allow people, I guess you've already been able to follow different stocks and stuff and, get your market charts, but now it's going to be just widely more user friendly. Twitter currently has something called cash tags. I didn't actually even know this, but this is going to give you real-time trading data from a company called TradingView on different index funds and everything else. And even information, of course, on Tesla. But this eToro partnership is, I guess, this big thing, and part of Elon's big plan and having Twitter be this super app. So Twitter / X Corp, I guess now, it's like, Facebook, Meta, now it's Twitter, X Corp. But I guess they want to bring all this banking into it. But it'll be interesting to see how he deals with compliance issues because it seems like he doesn't really care about securities law compliance. And it seems like, I guess I read in the news that the SEC has been burned before. So they're sort of almost, according to the news, they almost seem to be afraid of enforcing securities laws against Elon.
That's interesting to hear that they're afraid to try to enforce it. I mean, just based on the way that Twitter is being run right now, I don't see this working out well. There's something that's going to happen there. I mean, I guess stepping away from that, like the idea of it, where he wants to make this X app that eventually Twitter would be called X, I guess in theory, and then it's an app for everything to where you have all that stuff on there, and It's kind of like Weibo in China or wherever else, you know, some of those apps that are just kind of include a bunch of things. That seems to be where he's going. But I think adding in this, if I understand it right, it kind of sounds like you're adding in like Robinhood type of functionality into trading stocks with like other Twitter users. I don't even get how it's going to be implemented really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it
Yeah.
goes. But I agree with you. I think something that you and I had talked about before. We know NPR has exited Twitter, right? They
Yeah.
came up. Who else? I think it was another
PBS did.
PBS, right?
Yeah.
Another big one too that has left. And I don't know. I feel like you and I have had this discussion offline about like I feel like there's so much that I'm seeing on that he's sharing that I can't support. And I
Yeah.
don't know how long, it's gonna be okay to support something that seems to be negative, right?
Yeah.
And seems to be non-inclusive. I don't know. It just
That
it's
does kind of seem
disturbing.
the way it's going. Yeah, is not being more inclusive, and that despite what he says, it seems to be more exclusive for a lot of
Exclusive.
that stuff.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, and it's unfortunate because I do like Twitter, and I've got a lot of
Me too.
followers on Twitter, and it's a great way to engage, and you know that I've been able to connect with a lot of people through it. So there's a lot of good that can be done with it. It's just I wish he would just stop. You know,
You
just like
stop. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I get it. You got to get profitable. So give somebody a reason. Stop being like, I'm going to take this away from you and I'm going to label things that I don't like, you know, different things. It's like that doesn't seem to be the right way to go.
Mhm. And
To
it's so unfortunate because it's such a good opportunity where,
yeah,
you have such power and people look up to you and you have opportunity to build more positivity into the world because like you said, Twitter is amazing. We love the platform. We love how you can, interact and get information so readily. There's really nothing like it out there
yeah,
besides Twitter.
there's
But
not.
there's an opportunity to bring people together, right? I think the future generations, like millennials and Gen Zers especially, are craving for things that are right, inclusivity, more positivity, and yet Twitter doesn't deliver that currently. So hopefully that'll change.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to see what happens there. I am curious if anybody out there is using any of the alternative platforms. I know when Elon first bought it, I went out and I got a Mastodon account and all of these other ones. I haven't used them. They were
Mhm.
I found them a little bit hard to understand, but granted, I didn't spend a lot of time really getting into it.
Mhm.
I'm curious if anybody is still out on those other platforms. If you found another service that's Twitter like or something similar that you enjoy, let us know about it because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it
Yeah,
because I don't have a lot of experience with those other ones myself.
yeah.
And
They're
yeah,
still a little clunky. They're not as easy to
exactly.
use as Twitter. I mean, I would have loved for like a platform like LinkedIn, which I feel like is really ideal in many ways, but like it's just not as easy to transmit news so quickly like
Yeah,
Twitter is. The platform is different, but like LinkedIn, I feel like has a lot of things that you and I talked about that are positive, right? They're adding new technologies or new features, but
yeah,
they're very much a professional network site. So it's not like a Twitter. Twitter is
yeah,
like really kind of a newsy social media site that we really need. Mhm.
yeah. We do. I think it's very valuable. So yeah, if you do use one of those other ones, definitely let us know about
Yeah,
that.
let us know. I see Cross-X Fighter Joshua saying Twitter is kind of a mess. Vicky says, yes, love Twitter, but not much of a fan anymore. So yeah, absolutely. And I think many of you are joining us. Yeah, let us know what you think. I see a lot of people joining from all different platforms today.
Yeah.
Sadiq, Sadiq, thank you so much for joining us as well on YouTube Live. Always a treat to see you. But Greg, like what's going on in tech? Like I can't wait to hear what you have to share with us today.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of things to talk about. So the first one, it kind of has to do with, and I realized I took a look at our last show. I guess I talked about Google Maps as well, but you know what? It's back again because it's the weather's starting to get a little nicer. We're getting into some more spring. It makes me think about getting outside, getting out to camping, going to parks, and that's what this update kind of tied in all to that. So it kind of fits my mood right now. But this update
I
is
love it.
great. So this is an update to Google Maps, but it has to do specifically with national parks and how to really use maps in a much better way when you're going into a national park. So they're partnered with, I think 40 parks are now included, or 30, more than 30 right now, and it's going to go up to 40. And what it is they've kind of updated everything on there with real specific information. And if you've ever been into a national park, sometimes, they're wonderful. Sometimes if it's maybe not like a Yellowstone, that's probably great. But some of the other ones, maybe hard to figure out where the trailheads are, what it is that you're getting into. Well, this kind of incorporates everything. So you can go to a specific trailhead. It'll get you exactly there, tell you what to expect on this, show it, overlay it, show you exactly where you're going to go. Of course, you can tie it in with, kind of weather information and everything else. And on top of that, they're going to have this to where you're going to be able to download these, and you could download maps before, but now you can really specifically download these national parks, because a lot of times when you get into these, you lose cell service, which is also one of the great things about it. I kind of like not having cell service when you're out there trying to enjoy the park. You probably shouldn't be on your phone, except for this. This, I think, is a good use of technology when you're out in the wilderness. So you download that, you've got it all right there. You know where you're going, everything that's involved there. And I think it's just kind of a cool addition, something to think about if you're going to be heading out to any national parks, to going out to those, to try to incorporate that in. I think it's a pretty fun addition.
I love this, Greg.
Yeah.
This is so cool because you're absolutely right. So many parks. Like I've been to Yellowstone, I've been to Yosemite, and you're right. Like it's quite a lot, and you don't want to miss
Yes.
out. Like, let's say you go to Grand Canyon, right? Where is the best place to see the view? What places maybe are less crowded? And sometimes, those little signs that talk about where you're at, they're not even that updated or clear. So if you have this at the comfort of your palm in your hand, and you're right, there's places where there just isn't great signal.
Yeah.
This, I think, is powerful. Not only that, what I'd love for them to do too is at some point is to add in parking availability, because so many parks, Zion in particular, and Utah is like, I
Yeah.
think, the most visited park. It'd be great to know that this lot is full. Go to a different lot and you can come back,
Real-time information. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't know if they have that incorporated in, but that's a really great idea. It seems like if more people were using this, then they probably could get that kind of info if
Right?
they're using it at the same time.
Google,
They
if
do
you're
have,
listening.
what's that?
I said, Google, if you're listening, things
Yeah.
that you should do.
Yeah. That's some great advice. They do have advice, on what the best entrances are to go to. Cause these parks are huge. Sometimes it's hard to figure out. I just went to Joshua Tree. I think it was last summer.
I love Joshua Tree.
Yeah, it was great. And I actually went to you for advice on that, on what entrance to go into and what we only had a certain amount of time. So how to maximize that. So that was great. But this is something else you could add in there and take a look beforehand and really know what you're getting into, because it also gives you for the paths, whether they're suitable for walking or running or cycling, or, what kind of experience you want to get. And just, it's all information that you can get other places, but it's nice to have it all right there in that nice little package, plus adding in user comments like they do with other Google Maps things. So pictures and people's comments about here's what our experience was like. So it gives you just a lot more information.
This is powerful. I'm
maximize your
hoping
experience.
they add more stuff, Greg, into this. Like
Yeah.
I would love for them to add like where the restrooms are, like in the designated parks, right?
Yeah.
And then like maybe like incorporate some of the things that Gas Buddy does in terms of what the gas prices are for gas stations around the park. Because so often the parks are so large, and if
Yeah.
you're like needing to get gas, you need to know. Like I think there's a lot of this is good, Google. Keep doing this.
Yeah.
We like this.
Good stuff. So yeah, I thought that was cool. So something to think about too for everybody as you're heading out, over the summer. I believe it's 30 parks now, and then it's rolling out more, but it's a bunch that are going to be going to there.
Joshua says, Joshua Tree, I have my own tree now. Actually,
Yes.
Joshua, you have your whole own national park.
Yeah, you got a whole
by the
park.
way.
I'm sure you know your way around there very well.
It's in Southern California, and that's literally one of the coolest parks. You should definitely visit.
It is really cool. I want to go back there and spend more time in that park. But yeah, so something there from Google. So going from there, so we have the Google Maps. I had to, I have to admit there wasn't a ton of robot news this week, but I figured like we haven't done a show for a while. I had to get something in about robots. So this is a concept, an idea, if you will, and it's an experiment that went on in New York from Cornell University, I believe. They wanted to see how people would react to trash can robots. So these These are actual trash robots that they put out. And these ones were, I believe, human controlled. So it is a little bit of cheating. It's kind of like a remote controlled trash can. But the idea was, or maybe these ones were autonomous, but they had some that were controlled autonomously. Some were actually with a remote control. But regardless, the idea is how would people react to that to just help make sure that places stay cleaner. So they put them out there in New York just to see what people would do. And turns out most people were pretty okay with it. Pretty all right with this, that these robots would come up and ask if you want to throw away your trash. I like the idea. Anything that's going to keep things cleaner. A trash robot, that's great. I imagine it's going to get kicked over. That's the only problem I could see. I mean, people are going to be people. Somebody's going to knock that thing over. But nonetheless, still kind of cool. So, I mean, I like the idea of some robots doing, something good for everybody.
Especially in Times Square where it's like
Yeah.
so dirty. But what I think would be really cool, Greg, what if you could combine a trash can with a Roomba so it would like vacuum while it, comes to people. Maybe it needs to
Yeah.
be yeah.
Yeah. I was cleaning up and picking up the trash and dropping trash in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is a good use of robotics. This is what I like.
As
Oh,
long
yeah,
as
that
it
guy just
didn't
got
get in
yelled at
front
for
of
that
people and trip people, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I thought a neat experiment, just seeing how people are interacting with robotics and how much people are also getting used to robotics being out in the, in the wild.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, again, neat, probably better in a place where there's a lot of people because yes, it inevitably that thing's getting knocked over, but nonetheless, still kind of cool. So you can watch that whole video and it's fascinating just seeing how people respond and what their reactions are, whether they're for it or it weirds them out or it creeps them out. Robots are going to be in our lives. So
It's so clever, Greg. I mean, this is kind of gives you a thought of like sort of the beginning of what robots can do if used for the right way, right?
right.
Like cleaning up places, cleaning up trash, eventually cleaning up like those porta potties and everything else. Like that's great. Leave it up
Yeah.
to the robots,
Go for it, robots.
Yeah,
Like I
very
said,
cool.
get the branches off of my roof. All right. So,
Yes.
so we got that. So I had to slide in a little bit of robot, but there's something else though that's going to be happening next week. And we won't talk about the owner of the company, but the company itself is doing some cool stuff, and that is SpaceX. And there is a big thing that may be happening next week, right now, tentatively scheduled for April 17th. And that is the first full orbital test flight of the Starship. So Starship is SpaceX's entire package with the biggest rocket that's ever been created. This thing is huge, but this is what, once it's ready to go, down the road in some years, is what's going to be taking people back to the moon, people to Mars. This is the entire vehicle that will be facilitating all of that. And there's been some suborbital test flights for it, but this is going to be the first actual one where it goes up into space, orbits, comes back, and then in theory lands. So it's completely reusable. Pretty much every part of it is. And they want to see if it's going to fly. And this has been years in the making, this test flight. It sounds like everything SpaceX has is pretty much good to go, but they're waiting for, you have to get an actual approval. You have to get a license or approval from the FAA to actually do this tests like this. And so they're waiting for that to come through. But in theory, they might be doing it on April 17th. If it doesn't happen then, I bet it will happen sometime next week at some point in there, barring some kind of a setback or a weather delay. But this is pretty exciting stuff when it comes to space travel, when it comes to rockets, when it comes to testing things out. And also, there's the possibility this thing could not work. Something could go wrong. I don't think they want that to happen, but if it does, that's also part of the learning process. By the way, there's no people on board this thing. So there's no worry there, but just to see what it is that they can do, if they can actually pull this off, that actually puts them ahead quite a bit, puts it, then it brings it up to the next test, the next test, the next test, but furthering all of that whole goal to just take people further out into space. And this is probably going to be the one for years to come. Eventually that will be doing a lot of those long missions like that. So it's kind of an exciting time to see what happens with it.
It is an exciting time. Well, Greg, looks like we have something to look forward to
Yeah.
for sure next week.
I
In
mean,
addition to tax season
whatever
being over
happens,
for many.
yeah, whatever happens, that's still gonna. I'm gonna definitely be looking forward to seeing this thing. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll be reposting that. Might be doing a live stream associated with it, and yeah, if of course it depends on what time of day that happens to. Hopefully, it's not at like 3 a.m, but whatever. If it is, it is. But yeah, that's something big. So when that, just giving you a heads up in case you weren't aware of it. So when this does take place next week, you're going to see a lot of coverage of this all over the place. Again, whatever happens, whether it explodes on launch or whether it's completely orbits and then comes back and lands. And if you haven't watched the videos of the landings too, I recommend finding those. They're pretty cool because it comes down, and it's kind of horizontal. Then all of a sudden, boom, flips vertical and is able to land, and it's fun stuff.
That is really cool. Greg, typically, what time of the day do you usually see these? Like really early in the morning, or?
Have been, it really depends, but they have been usually later in the evening, I feel like, or in the morning. So probably not in midday, but also there's so many factors that go into it that, are above my knowledge that I guess it kind of depends. They'll usually give like a window they'll announce like, okay, here's our window. It's like 2 to 3 hours. And then they'll start a live stream like 45 minutes before, and it could happen anywhere in that window. And then it could get all the way down to the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, and then they cancel it. So who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Vicky's looking forward to it. Vicky is saying European space mission to Jupiter and looking forward to the launch. So very cool. So you'll have to let us know, Vicky, how you like it. And then Greg, we'll definitely follow you very closely and see your commentary on it.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
you're not up at 3 a.m. doing this, though. So hopefully
I don't know if I will be at 3. might watch the replay on that one. But, we'll see. We'll see what it is. Or I might wake up and watch it, but then I probably won't be tweeting too much at that point. But yeah. So anyway, there's something to look forward to for next week. So something to check out.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So is that it for the week?
That's it for me. That's it for me for this week. Yeah. Not a ton of new stuff going on in tech. There's a bunch of things that are going to be happening soon. You have a lot of conferences coming up. Google, Apple, still kind of expecting an announcement at some point. Don't know when. That's always Apple's MO. But I think that we're going to get something from Apple pretty soon, whether that's new laptops or whether that's going to be the Apple, mixed reality headset. We could be getting that. So something on the horizon. But yeah, Google, a lot of video games coming out. So a lot of video game news coming up as well. So there's definitely some good stuff on the way.
Cool. So stuff to look forward to. Definitely lots to do. Well, very good. I'm so glad, Greg, we're going to come back, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say for next week. But thank you to everybody who, it came back today, because we did take a couple weeks off. We had so much to do with work, and then my kids had spring break. So that's why we took a few very necessary days. And actually, that's a good reminder for those of you, make sure to take care of yourself. Make sure to enjoy the weekend. Get a breather, like Greg said. Enjoy the warmer weather. It's pretty great.
Yeah. If you can, get out. Get outside. Go to a park. Do all that stuff.
Check out the new Google app that Greg told you about.
Yeah.
But with that, I hope that, thank you so much for tuning in. And please do us a favor, share the show with someone that you care about. And if you do, make sure to tag Greg Nibbler and myself so we can properly thank you on an upcoming show, because we truly appreciate you and everything that you do. And we're looking forward to, Greg, are we coming back next week?
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. And with that, have a beautiful weekend and take care, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.